Welcome back to the Movie World Marathon. I'm Andrew.
Ooh. And I'm Mac.
Heck yeah, and we're starting a new marathon
Yeah.
today. Different
Mm-hmm.
kind of marathon. We're doing totally 80s. I didn't think of a name for
Totally
it other
80.
than just the 80s marathon. But
Yeah, just
yeah,
like 80s movie.
80s
In like no
movies.
particular genre either. It kind of
No,
jumps all over the board.
the
Mm-hmm.
genre is 80s movies that don't have a series because we're
Mm.
not doing Back to the
Mm-hmm.
Futures. We're not doing,
Mm-hmm.
like we've already touched on the Terminators. We're not doing Star Wars. We're not doing Star Treks. It's kind of like one-offs basically. Because like I
Mm-hmm.
think
Mm-hmm.
RoboCop would fit into this unless RoboCop's early 90s. I don't remember. Um but
Well,
like Back to the Futures, like that's one of the biggest 80s movies, but we're not doing that because it has its own marathon that we'll do one day. But yeah, fun little one-offs. We're starting with E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial. Came out
E.T.
1982, directed by Steven Spielberg, of course,
Mm-hmm.
starring Henry Thomas as Elliot, Drew Barrymore as Gertie, Robert McNaughton as Michael, Dee Wallace as Mary, Peter Coyote as Keys. That's all he's credited
Mm-hmm.
as, which is kind of
I love
interesting.
that.
Yeah.
He doesn't get a well, we'll talk about it later.
Yes. And then I want to find their names, so it's gonna take me a second. But E.T. was actually like done by four people. Two
Mm.
little people and then one boy who was born without legs. He does some of the scenes where ET's like walking across the
Oh.
floor, and then
Huh.
a lot of the hand movements were done by a professional mime. So he's very expressive, which definitely
Pretty
comes through
cool.
in the movie. So I
I
would
love that
like
they like did all that for that because he
yes.
like he does come to life on the screen.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I got lots to say about this movie. I'm very excited. But
Hmm.
I'd like to hear your initial thoughts or something
Hmm.
interesting that you think about this movie while I look up those people real quick.
Yeah, no, I've rewatched ET because I watched ET as a kid, and then I rewatched ET. I think some point in college. I'm trying to remember exactly what the set of circumstances was, but I can't right now. It doesn't really matter. All I remember thinking is like there's kind of been like a phase of like my understanding of this film. When I watched it as a kid, I was like, this is a fun action adventure film that gets a little scary sometimes. And like it's obviously not that scary, but they do a good job sort of like building tension with music and whatnot in it. So it's like, the guy, like we meet a fun alien, he learns a little bit. There's some weirdness in the middle, it's kind of entertaining. He tragically dies, and then oh, it looks like he was pretending, and the story ends happily. And that's pretty much what I remember. I watched again significantly older, and I was like, wow, I did not realize how beautiful this movie was. I was honestly pretty distracted by
Mm-hmm.
just how well shot the movie is. And I was noticing it again this time, but like I kind of like already reframed that understanding in my mind, so it wasn't new anymore. But like the shot with the shed and the light and the
Uh-huh.
moon is beautiful. The way that
Yes.
the movie uses darkness so casually, but you're still able to see what's
Yes.
happening in the
Mm-hmm.
scenes.
Mm-hmm.
The set design and the costume choices are so grounded that you kind of miss how intentional they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool.
Yes.
Um, the third time, this time watching it, it's a really I mean, it's not, like, super complex, but it's a really strong statement about, like, friendship and
Mm-hmm.
love and how, like, feelings and emotions kind of, like, are as important, if not more important than the scientific analysis of the world that we tend to use to understand our surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, we'll get into the details of it, but, like,
For
I did
sure.
not realize that this is essentially a, like, this is a weird word to use here. People say like educational kids book. That doesn't have the right vibe to it. I'm going to say
I
nutrition. Like
yeah, well
there's
see,
nutritional value in this story
I
that
think
is like good for kids to consume,
yes,
which is
yes.
kind of wild.
There's see the word I was thinking while watching this because I have something very similar and I guess real quick I found the name of the kid. He was
Oh,
12 at the
yes.
time. His main name is Matthew D. Merritt. I cannot find the names of the little people that were that had also portrayed him. I did find real quick on Wikipedia though that he was uncredited the voice of ET, which is crazy in my opinion.
That is insane.
Pat Welsh, voice uncredited. So
Huh.
yeah, I mean, E.T. is a movie I saw, of course, when I was a little kid. I found it very spooky, not in like a scary way, but like,
Mhm.
it was just one of those ones that
There's a lot of
says,
like real problems that happen that get you like
yes,
really
yes,
concerned, The
yeah,
cops are chasing the
yeah,
kids.
uh
Like
huh.
that's serious
And
stuff.
it's also like it's the early bit. Like I think, and I am trying to not get ahead of myself because there is a lot to talk about. Um, but like the first bit, it captures very well what's scary for a little boy, and when you watch it, or I guess
Mhm.
more accurately, just being a kid. And
Mhm.
I was really into that as a kid. I found it spooky. But the word I was thinking of while watching this, while kind of pretentious, is just it's so artistic. And that's not to
Mhm.
say that movies aren't, especially Spielberg. Like he does that kind of shit.
Mhm.
But if like before doing this project, like what we do, where we watch these and we give it more of a critic or a reviewing kind of eye, I had never picked up on the sheer amount of light work in this
Mhm.
movie. Like
Mhm.
everyone knows the silhouette shot with the moon. It's the logo
Mhm.
for emblem after this, of course. But like that's that's like the last second to last silhouette thing they do in this movie. Like it's all over the place. Like they use the light incredibly and consistently. Like the lights of the creepy government agency when they break into the house with all of
Mhm.
the what do you call it, the slats, the blinds, and all the doors. Like it's
Mhm.
long, it's creepy, it takes its time. The light in Elliot's bedroom the first time we meet, or like the first time that they're interacting together, like, and just like the way he sits up to block the sun when his mom goes into the closet, like
Mhm.
it's so good. And then the shadows of ET's hands on Elliot's face,
Mhm.
the shadow of Keys when he's standing in their
Mhm.
driveway, like it's once you notice it, it is so wonderfully consistent that the only word
And
I
I
could
think,
think for it
you
was
know,
art.
yeah, and no, I 100% agree. Like, and it's such a low lit film to be about light, and maybe that's not as uncommon as I like thinking it is. But usually when you think about like a film with light, you think maybe like Doctor Strange with like all
Mm-hmm.
the special
Mm-hmm.
effects and the brightness and the radiance kind of coming out of the screen. This is just a film that uses light intentionally and carefully for
Mm-hmm.
what they're trying to do. And like maybe that started because the puppet looks a little bit better in low light,
I don't
Maybe
know.
that's why it started. But the way it ends up being used in
Mm-hmm.
the storytelling and the tension building and the
Mm-hmm.
sort of like artistic framing of each scene is so beautiful and so intentional.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I mean, I'm not in any way educated to say this, but I feel like I would 100% use it as like guaranteed viewing if I were running the film school. Not just
I think
because
that's
it's
fair.
Spielberg, but because when it comes to how to frame a shot and light a shot,
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of another film like this. I
I
really
know.
can't.
I see. I know that's on me for not always considering this type of stuff. In the vast world of movies at this point, there are films that do this. Spielberg didn't invent it. I understand, but like, it's still really good, especially for a movie that, if we're being blunt, the plot is fairly simple. Not a bad thing. Just
Yes.
straightforward.
Mhm.
It's a good little. There's depth and there's a message because again, it's not a light thing to say it's Spielberg. He puts a lot of effort and thought into his movies. He has like the one time I
Mhm.
looked, he has like the best record of directing on IMDb. Like anything he's directed
Wow.
is just good. Like he's involved in
Mhm.
films that are bad, but if he's directed them, like they're usually good. He's the director, the closest thing that I get into like that term glazing, just because he does good shit and I like it all. So it's not surprising that he put effort and thought into it. But like when you think about E.T., if you don't think about it, I mean, it's a group of kids, they find an alien,
Mhm.
and while that idea wasn't invented by that, it's probably the first time this was kind of made. Like there's lots of movies now where like this plot is explored. Like this is Bumblebee. This is I was trying to think about.
Mhm.
There's like just a group of kids find something weird.
Mhm.
Like this is kind of like the Spiderwick Chronicles movie as well. Um,
Mhm. It's very like the format of kid finds magical
Yeah.
otherworldly
Yeah.
thing, kid
Yeah.
helps otherworldly thing,
Hmm.
and ends happily.
Yeah.
And there's some theme of friendship
Right.
throughout, right? Like it's
Exactly.
not a
For sure.
totally unique setup.
No, not at all. But then when you watch it and you pay attention and you think about it, yeah, there's some really interesting family dynamics. There's a little bit of commentary on that. Not a great deal, but a little bit.
Hmm.
There's the artistic use of light. There's the thought into the practical effects, which of course can't be understated. And upon this watch, I was really paying attention to the government space guys because
Hmm.
this is also like the first time I remember watching a movie and hating, the
Hmm.
invasive government
Interesting.
space guys. Because like I always hate those characters. They're always in the way. They're always ruining things. They're always hateful. But like giving this one a chance, I found it way more interesting because it is different than other
Mhm.
government spacey people that come in and ruin everything, which we'll talk about later. But
Yeah, no, we definitely want to have a conversation about how
yes,
those characters are portrayed because
yes, for
it's
sure.
complex
Hmm.
and yet at the same time, I think kind of straightforward.
Yeah,
Like
I think,
that's for later. That's
yeah,
for later.
I think the worst thing you could say about this movie, and it's like twofold, is you could consider it boring if you're not
Hmm.
watching it the way that we were watching it for this project, because the slow bits are so important. You've got the performance of
Hmm.
ET, you've got this empathetic connection that's growing between Elliot and ET, and it's good to take that time and to let it develop naturally. So,
Hmm.
like even in what could be a critique, I think there's still a strength there.
Well, and I think that's kind of a good touch on something I noticed right away with this one is it feels really boring, even though the story I do feel like is actively developing complex things that are actively happening in the story, just not being said out loud by the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like this movie, despite being, I think, fundamentally for kids, has a lot of unspoken plot. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of
Yeah.
unspoken plot. And like, I mean, it starts from the very beginning. I mean, the alien, like, there's well, actually, the credits start with like this weird, echoey, creepy sound,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not necessarily enough to like really stress you out, but it's enough to sort of like maybe put you on edge a little bit. You know, you're like this is definitely not a sound that is familiar and comfortable. And then the first thing we see in the dark background is stars, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when we get full on orchestra music. A little bit of strings, I believe, starts in right at the moment we see stars. And stars are something that it's out there but it's familiar to us, so it's like the establishing shot being stars, the very first thought being shot being stars, I think is a really good sort of it's really good for this film. It's
Mm-hmm.
about connection, about home,
Mm-hmm.
and about distance from that home. Really well
That's
done.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the ship looks good. Classic sort
Yep.
of like alien thing. There's a bunch of aliens, they're poking around Earth, they're taking samples, but they look so natural in the environment.
Mm-hmm.
They're a part of the darkness, they're a part of the shadows. It's just them like with uncovered hands picking up plants and trees and things, talking to each other, freezing when it gets a little scary, and then going about their business.
Mm-hmm.
And then the invaders in this moment
Oh,
are the government guys.
good way to put it. Good way to put it. I
Yeah.
had not thought of it like that. That's so good. That's so good with the
They
harsh light of the
splash, yeah,
vans.
harsh light. It's unnatural. They splash in the puddle. They're
Mm-hmm.
making a whole lot of noise. The jangling keys are highlighted in the sounds that they're making, which are an unnatural sound of like locking things away, keeping things away. Like
Ooh! Oh, look at
there's
you! Look at
so
you!
much. There's
Symbolism.
so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. And like the fact that we don't get a face for that character, it's just that symbol that invaded that peaceful space
Mm-hmm.
for so long in the film. I mean, we don't get a face for that guy until he walks into the home of our main characters. When he
Yeah.
becomes relevant and known to our main characters
Mm-hmm.
is when we get a face for him. So, like
Oh, what
it's
an
just
interesting. See, this is one of those things I was aware of, but like didn't really connect the dots.
Mhm.
Because I already thought it's really good, and again, not surprising for Spielberg to do something like this. We established the aliens right away as
Mhm.
not a threat. real chill.
hmm
Because like if
I mean, we
you
see inside their ship that
yeah
they have a
yeah
natural environment
right
inside their
if you
ship. Like
don't
these guys are
yeah
plant oriented.
they're well they're botanists like you're exactly
Yeah.
right, they're out there collecting shit. That's all the stuff that they collected from
hmm
other worlds. If you don't start with that and we just start from Elliot's perspective, then we do have a fear element to ET, which is really good
Oh,
that
for sure.
we don't do that. We start the
hmm
thing that is unknown, the scary thing is Keys and those guys, which is a
hmm
really really cool.
hmm
Ooh, oh, this is a good one. This is
hmm
good stuff.
I mean, arguably, I mean, you see ET the silhouette, but you don't see ET the
Right,
face
we still
until
have a
Elliot
reveal.
also sees
Yeah,
him. Like
we get a little
there's
bit
a
of
certain
both.
storytelling where they kind of like they do give us outside information to increase the dramatic irony, the tension happening, but they keep the identity of these people away until our point of view character Elliot
Hmm.
sees them. And I think that's a really fun artistic choice as
For
well. There's
sure.
just this, I mean, the beginning is very simple. Aliens land on Earth, they're picking up plants. Humans show up and mess that plant up, and ET gets separated, right? Like that's the opening of this film. But if you look at how they accomplish this opening, it sets up so much of the film. It aligns our characters with good and evil, or at least with peace and war. And there's just a
Mm-hmm.
whole lot of like really cool storytelling happening before we get a line of dialogue
Yeah,
in this film.
that is good stuff.
And it continues, I think, through the film. Obviously, dialogue picks up a bit of it, but a lot of Elliot and ET's relationship is unspoken as well.
Hmm.
You just have to like you can see that they're connected before any of the other characters pick
Yeah,
up on it.
yeah, and they set that
Mhm.
up pretty early, and I think they set that up really well. Um, the the slow burn of it, or like we get a couple of instances before the school sequence, because if
Mm-hmm.
you jumped right into the school sequence, it would be kind of wild, and it would feel like it
Really
came out of
obvious.
nowhere. But
hmm
they set that up pretty well, and then the I think the school sequence is an adequate amount of funny, and
hmm
and
there's an element of like this is definitely the 80s in that scene,
oh
but I
for
don't think
sure.
it ruins it.
No, I'm like fully on board with it until the the kiss sequence that aligns so well with the movie, because it that
I get a touch
requires
uncomfortable with the
for
drunk
sure.
part, but I'm
Well,
okay. And then
I
the romantic bit
I
just kind of
can
comes out of nowhere.
yeah, well I can appreciate that the alien is drunk, and then by extension,
hmm
unfortunately, the kiddo is. You know, like if it was
hmm
somehow like nowadays it would be a teenager who goes to a party and drinks and causes an issues for the alien at home who's now doing something
Yeah,
stupid. Like
true.
it would be flipped, or they'd be nasty about it and he would like be puking
hmm
everywhere, because like I think the way it's done
Yeah.
even with the 80s, because it is the 80s, for the most part is okay. He is like
hmm
what 10 and he's getting a lot of, I mean, the girl liked it. I don't know. 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 They. The only thing I will say about that, because like you know how I am. I'm not gonna actually go and defend stuff like that. Typically, it's
hmm
it's a smooch. It is a smooch, just a
hmm
smooch.
hmm
And she does show interest in Elliot at the bus stop. She doesn't come out of
hmm
nowhere. She is a character that seems
hmm
to have a bit of a crush on him. Which again,
hmm
we don't have to be putting a lot of kids kissing in movies. I don't want that.
hmm
But
Especially when they're not under control of their actions.
yes,
It's a
100%.
little.
100%.
Mm,
100%. I'm just saying, as a movie, at least it's set up naturally to an extent.
hmm
To an extent.
hmm
So,
I feel like, yeah, like if there's one bit from this movie to cut, it's just the kiss for
sure,
me. Like
sure.
everything else I think
You
works,
lose
but
nothing if you get rid of that.
yeah,
100%.
exactly. And
You
it feels
could
a little just sort of like audience, maybe almost like fan servicey to be like, and he's flipping channels and look, it's a romance. And so
yeah,
Elliot's gonna kiss the girl in his class. Like it just feels a little
for sure. For sure.
like
It could
that
end with the
doesn't seem to
frogs.
fit everything
100%.
else. Yeah.
100%. I
hmm
as a kid, I was always confused as to why he then releases the frogs. So like watching it this time and connecting it to wanting to go home and him just
hmm
translating that to the forest and the rivers are the frogs' homes. Yeah, when I was younger, I didn't make that immediate connection. I thought he was just going crazy and just didn't want to kill the frog.
Well, I always thought like, these kids seem to be fairly aware of what the government does when they find something unusual. So my mind was he
Oh.
thought the dissection was he was thinking of ET and what would
Oh,
happen
that
to
makes sense
ET.
too. That makes sense too.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I think the home connection works too. Just like this idea, like there's a thing that is trapped.
Mhm.
It is going to go under some sort of like horrible experience. We
Mhm.
are like due to science, which is the part of the themes of this film. Due to science, we are killing a thing to cut it open, take a look at it,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and
True, true, true.
yeah, like instead, I want to choose my feeling and free the thing instead.
Mhm.
I don't
See,
know.
that's
It's
I
yeah.
mean, it's all there and like I understood, but again, I didn't make that I didn't connect all of those dots, which is so good cuz like I can think of two
Mhm.
really good movies that I like that use a classroom environment and lecture to basically lay out the plot. And it's not a bad thing, but it's so in your face. Like, and the sad thing is that there's some people that still don't get it. I'm thinking of
Mhm.
Weapons and Brightburn. Both talk about, they're both
Mhm.
exploring in their biology classes parasites and
Mm.
invasive species. But in like this, oh, this was so good. So I didn't even make the immediate connection, and I do this shit for not a living. So like that's really cool. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
no, the science class, the dissection thing, I think was a very intentional choice because it's about
Of
kind of
course.
putting your feelings aside to pursue science, which is
Mm,
this like kind of the antithesis of this film. Antithesis, there it is, antithesis of the film. But there's also definitely an element of like he's just like ET and his species, which by the way, the name ET does bother me a little bit. It's like we went around calling this guy alien like a name the whole time.
I mean, to an
Um
extent. Well,
they're like, it's my friend alien.
it's actually Mac. It's layered because of their.
Oh, is it? Is it because it's Elliot
It's Elliot
Taylor?
Taylor. So yes, it is. It
Yeah,
is because of that. Because
yeah.
of their empathetic connection. It's Elliot Taylor and E.T.
ET. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, obviously very like the species seems to be like empathetic. Like they all like in the same way like telepathy happens.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a word for that other than empathy? Because empathy is a word we
I mean,
use.
they're empaths like betazoids.
Empaths. Yeah. Yeah. They so, he makes this connection with Elliot and you can see that kind of develop. But if you think about what ET as an empath would how he would operate or how society like that would operate, that's where you start getting into like the morals and the lessons and the themes of the film. Like obviously Elliot is a kid who's feeling lonely, feel left alone, he finds a friend. I think this movie is loosely based off of like Spielberg's own experience with his imaginary friend
Yeah.
after his parents' divorce, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So like there's some family commentary thing. The kid is lonely. He needs a friend. There's that side of it happening. There's a human side of it happening. But then they also are very consistent, I feel like, with what ET coming from an empathic society would be like and what his priorities would be and how that might impact the way that he kind of navigates through the world. And that's kind of the lesson to take
Mm-hmm.
from this, I think,
Sure.
at the
Yeah.
end of the day. It's I don't know, it's cool. It's
Mm-hmm.
really they put way more thought and effort into the character ET and like his I guess species and his culture,
Mm-hmm.
for lack of a better understanding of it, um, than I would have expected the first
Mm-hmm.
time I watched this film. The first time I watched this film, he was just a funny looking alien that was kind
Yeah.
of friendly, you know?
Yep. But no, there's thought. There's thought. I
Yeah.
guess at this point we should talk a little bit about the human characters for a moment. We're
Hmm.
introduced to almost all of them during a D&D game, which is that's
Hmm.
so 80s. That's great.
So 80s.
Yep.
I was
Uh,
just their entire like kitchen setup.
I know. I've always found their little table
Hmm.
booth thing really cool. I like it a lot. I
Hmm.
I wanted one.
Hmm.
Yeah, we meet Michael and Elliot and the friends and mother who's doing her best. Um,
Hmm.
I
I'm
did have
not
to.
okay. This is a personal pet peeve. This is
Yeah.
not a comment on the quality of the film. It might be a comment on the culture of the film. Um, I cannot stand it when movies portray disobedient boys to female like authority figures as a normal and uncontrollable thing that happens.
Uh huh.
Like he she's trying to calm them down. They laugh at her, grab knives, and run outside.
Uh-huh.
And we're just gonna act like that's normal, acceptable behavior. I
Uh-huh.
don't know. That's this is more about me than it is about like the reality of the
Well,
storytelling happening in the film. Because like they do that intentionally, thematically. I understand there's this whole like sort of like ferocity, Lord of Flies vibe that's coming from that that's intentional.
mhm.
But like the extremely normalized woman speaking don't listen thing
Oh, for
kind
sure.
of flared up and
A
got
little
me
bit.
this time watching it.
I see. I was thinking about that as well. Not so much with that scene. I actually found that scene kind of confusing because for one, it's a bunch of these
Mhm.
idiot teenagers. Like, not it's not even her
Mhm.
kid that grabs a knife. Well, he might grab this. He
Right.
might be the second one that grabs a knife, not the
There are
first
two
one.
knives drawn.
Yeah, I don't remember who the second is. But you got these idiot dumbass teenagers. There is that. But then the first bit of like disobedience we see, or is implied to be, when she says, "Who said you guys could order a pizza?" But they
Mhm.
show it the way they portray it in the movie. It looks like it was their money. So I always wondered,
Mm.
like, what exactly was the issue with that? I am not arguing with you. I just think there's better
Mhm.
examples of it throughout this movie
Sure.
because we don't get a lot of interactions between Michael and Mary, other than he's a
Mhm.
little more aware of her situation. He's trying to be more sensitive than Elliot, because Elliot, he's a
He's not
little.
good at it, but he's
No,
trying.
he's trying. He's he's like what, 15, 16, and Elliot's
Mhm.
maybe 12 at oldest. He's definitely younger. I don't know for sure. He's the middle kid. Middle kids suck. So the interactions we get are with Elliot and Mary. And even though we're in Elliot's story, we're dealing with an alien in the closet and we've got stuff going on. It is hardcore, continuously, and natural. Mother's word is like a distant whisper that we don't have to consider
Mhm.
or think about even for a second. And apparently,
Mhm.
Gert refers to her by her first name. And I had to
Yeah.
rewind and put on subtitles because, like, there's no way that I just saw this little girl call her mother Mary. But apparently, that was
Mhm.
a choice Spielberg did because of how relaxed the household is, slash implying whether the kids know it or not a level of disrespect. But I think the
Mhm.
thing I read was that it was maybe similar in his household. So I don't know. I
I don't
didn't
know.
read extensively enough to know what it is Spielberg is doing with that. But we are getting those vibes because she's at her wits end. We could tell the sequence of
Yes.
ET walking
Yes. Yeah.
around collecting his shit while she's there and like doesn't notice is so good and so believable.
Mhm.
Like it's ugh. So yeah,
I
we're
can see
like
that happening for
yeah.
sure. And like so like there's a level of like portraying her as someone who seems pretty fresh out of a divorce, finds out that ex-husband going down to Mexico, a place he apparently hated with his new thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um Trying to explain this to her kids while also just like grieving the
Mm.
relationship. I mean, it's not said, but it does feel like there was an affair situation that happened here. The
Oh, I
rug was
think
kind of pulled out
so.
from under her, you
Yeah,
know.
for sure.
Um,
I always thought, yeah.
and yeah, because like it doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like or seem like she misses him necessarily, but it does seem like she was not planning on living without him. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like there's this like clear absence in the family where she hadn't prepared anybody for this change. It just kind of happened to him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going through a lot emotionally, and that explains a lot of the sort of like distance that's happening. Um, I do wish there had been a few times though where she kind of like got a bit of authority. I don't really think she makes a decision that is followed through like
No.
once
No, I don't
in
think so.
this film.
And see,
Uh-huh.
usually I don't find that stuff all that troubling because in stories like this, E.T., the Goonies, ones that we'll watch and other ones we won't. The point so very often is that you can't rely on the adults. They're in the way. They're an obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you have movies like this where you spent time kind of showing character to this character, it does sting a little bit more when like it's not so much
Mm-hmm.
plot as it feels more like disrespect. So it is
Mm-hmm.
interesting that we made decisions enough to we want to sympathize with her, or shall I say empathize with her,
Mm-hmm.
but we also will not spend any time in the movie giving her an
Respecting
arc,
her.
giving her a moment, giving her anything to
Mm-hmm.
do other than
Mm-hmm.
crying, whether for good or
Yeah.
bad. So I see what
Woman
you
is the
mean.
victim of circumstances, you know? Her
Yes.
kids
Yeah.
do what they want, her husband does what she wants,
It's
the boyfriend does what he
interesting.
wants, and it's
Yeah.
just
It's
her
it's
there
interesting
dealing with it.
then that she gets to be a part of the goodbye sequence. You know what I mean? Like,
It is. Mm-hmm. I think it's because it's about the family unit a little bit, you know?
ah,
Like
I see.
Elliot needs his family to rely on now
Hmm.
that ET is not going to be there. And slowly over the course of the movie, it goes from ET and Elliot to Elliot and Mike and Gertie,
Yeah.
and like the team builds up over the movie, and I think she needs to be there because she's about that. Like she's one of the later additions to the team. She ends up leaving without trying to tip off the guys. Fails, but
Yeah.
hey,
Oh,
she tried.
see, I was gonna
Um,
say it would have. I think it would have
mhm,
helped if she was actually brought in, to the fold,
mhm,
to the plan,
mhm.
if you will.
And they did
Um.
trust her enough to give her a note where they had left
Yeah.
her without information several times before.
True.
So
Very true.
like there's an element of inclusion for her at the very end, but
It's a little too late.
it does kind of feel like that in order again when it comes to from like an angle of respect for the character,
Yeah.
not that we necessarily need any of that to change, but if we're going to say that this is a female character that is treated well in this story, we would need some changes
Hmm.
for that to be true.
For
You
sure.
know, kind of in the same way that not every movie needs to pass the Bechdel test, not every female character necessarily needs to be like the best written, but it stands out, I think, in this film because it's all about connection and relationship. And if
Yeah.
a mother's authority over her children is completely neglected, then there's something broken, I think, in that relationship. Not necessarily that she needs to be a tyrant, just that
Right.
she's the adult. She makes reasonable decisions throughout the course of the film, and yet she is constantly disregarded and thrown to the side, and that hurts her.
Yeah.
And we don't care
I
about that.
think it would have helped either to bring her into the fold for real for the end, or to have more moments where one of the kids respects her, which I think this is maybe again a thing of Spielberg, to a fault potentially in this instance, of every scene usually for a movie he does is significant in one way or another. You don't get a lot of fluff. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you write a story in which the mother is kind of, shall we say, to be blunt, useless, not a part of it, no fault to her, then you're not going to get any
Mm-hmm.
scenes showing. Like, it could have been really sweet to have a sequence of her trying to teach Michael to drive, because then you actually,
Mm-hmm.
we get that scene of him trying to back out of the driveway to illustrate that he's not good at driving and set up the fun, holy shit, now I have to drive. Like, we set that up. You could have
Mm-hmm.
still done that with her trying to teach him. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing the potential of other things you could have done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are. I don't know. Again, it's not like I don't think it really even dings the movie that much. It's
No,
just
but we
something
are
that I
us,
don't
and we
think.
will complain
Yeah,
about the
yeah.
one thing we
If we're
can
talking
find.
nitpicks,
Oh yeah,
that's got to be in the bucket. I feel
I
like
think it's
just in
fair.
terms of respect towards characters.
Hmm.
Um, we should probably move on though. What else do
Probably.
we want to talk
Real
about?
quick, I do think the acting for the most part is pretty good between these three kids. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I
There's a lot of
love
screaming, which is more
there
of a directing
is
choice than anything else. I'm
there's a
not
lot of
crazy about all
screaming
the screaming, a lot of
for
shouting.
to an extent. I really like the consistent scaring the absolute hell out of Michael. Um,
Yeah,
The
yeah.
second time is the best, where he's like, "Oh, what have you got on his head?" E.T.'s like, "Holy shit, he's talking now!" Like that's such a good moment. And then
Hmm.
I get throughout watching this movie, I do get sucked into the little kid perspective for sure. And
Yeah.
I was keeping tabs on it. I wanted to see like how much of this is me and how much of this is like the success of the movie. And I considered it fully success of the movie when we get to the part where they shock ET and we see Gertie's reaction to it, and I tear up.
Hmm.
And it's not because of ET,
Hmm.
it's because of Gertie. Like her
Dirty. Hmm.
fear and her little face, like it's so
Hmm.
good and how horrible it all is. And I'm
Yeah.
like I'm fully in it. So she's doing
Hmm.
great and she's very sweet. I think she's perfect amounts of annoying and cute, and where it's like 75-25, because when she is crawling over her mother to tell Keys where they're going, like you just want to smack her, but it's so believable for a kid that age. um And
Some
it's
set up with the Mexico bit. Like she just doesn't
yeah,
understand social cues.
yeah,
Consistent about that, you know? It's nice.
yeah. I was thinking this time around as well. Elliot is clearly the dude, right? With ET, we have the empathetic
Mm,
connection. We found him. It's our adventure. That's fine. I love that Gert, though, is kind of the one that teaches him to talk, or more, she's there when he
mhm,
starts learning to
mhm,
talk and does encourage a handful of words. I love the
mhm.
moment when E.T. leaves and has his little goodbye with all of them. But I kind of wish there was more of a one on one with Michael somewhere in the movie,
Mhm,
just like
mhm.
more of a moment, because we don't really have one. And like,
It's actually a really great point. Let me expand on it just for a
go
quick
ahead,
second.
go ahead.
Michael plays the role of like the male protector in this film. In the
Mm-hmm.
absence of a father figure, he's the one who physically defends and stands up and provides for the group that's working with. You know, he carries them on his back when necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he doesn't get an emotional farewell is maybe actually kind of a weakness in the thematic element of the story, because it's supposed to be about how relationships
Mm-hmm.
and the way that we help each other is about that emotional base, that emotional shared thing. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, Mike is doing all these things because he cares about his siblings and he cares about ET. He cries,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a certain like missing element between ET or maybe Elliot and
Oh,
Michael
I
specifically, you know?
I no, I totally forgot. Okay, so first, I wanted to clarify. I think he does have the emotional goodbye. I just didn't think at first that it was earned, but I totally forgot.
Oh,
Because like I really like with the goodbyes, the like clearly ET knows what he's saying. 100% we
yeah.
know as a viewer, as a kid, you know it in your heart. But it's the words he says to Gert, be good. The first words he learned with her. And then the words with Elliot, it kind of seems like there's the connection, but there's still a disconnect just because of the alien thing. And like the words he's saying are the words he
Mhm.
learned with that character. But with Michael, he says thank you. And I was like,
That's
whoa.
true.
Like thinking, but I totally forgot. Michael's the one that finds him when he's dying in the creek.
Mm-hmm.
Michael did save him. I
Mm-hmm.
totally forgot about that. So there is that moment with Michael. So I do.
Mm-hmm.
I got to correct that. I got to take back that thing. So he did have a moment with him, and he
That's true.
exactly what you
And the
said.
significance,
He's a protector. He puts the sheet
yeah.
over him. He brings him home. All that.
Mhm.
Nope. See, I totally forgot, and you explained it anyway. So yeah, no. There is that. There is a good moment
I
with
forgot the
Michael.
significance of the word thank you being new and that he would use new words to express that because it's about growth and development. You know what? It works. I take back my critique. It
Mm-hmm.
works.
Yep. I'm
Michael's relationship with
I'm
ET
so
thematically
yeah.
is
I'm
quite
really glad I remembered that because
clear.
if I posted this and listened to it back and then realized there's a whole he fucking saves his life and I totally forgot
Yeah.
about that. That's a full
Yeah.
blown one on one moment. So yeah, no, that's great.
Hmm.
Love all that. Um, we kind of glossed over it real quick, but I do want to say there's some genuinely good humor in this movie.
Sure.
Not
Hmm.
just the drunk Elliot sequence, but like the realizing he can talk is really funny.
Hmm.
Him, just ET being goofy is pretty great. The guys on the bikes, the whole chase sequence is littered with
Hmm.
some good humor here and there. Um,
Especially with the sort of extra characters along for the
yes,
ride, you
yes,
know?
uh-huh.
Hmm.
Um, I have one silly little thing I want to talk about just for a minute, and then we have to talk about the scientists, and
Hmm.
gotta leave some time probably for something else because we only have 20 minutes left. It's we have like there's a spectrum. When the movie's really really bad, endless things to talk about. When the movie is really really good, endless things to talk about. It's those weird little like yeah it was fine where it's like it's like a 20-minute conversation. But so I'm curious as to your thoughts on this real quick. I don't watch this movie and see Elliot using Reese's Pieces as immediate, glaring, blazing product placement. It
Yeah.
is. I understand that it is, but it doesn't.
The Coke one is though.
Well,
Like, do you want a Coke?
sure. Well, of course, but I didn't. I was curious as to your thoughts. I don't know if I don't see it as product placement because of how old this movie is now, because it is 40 years old,
Mm.
and I don't think about that when I watched this as a kid, or if because for one, it's not like it's one of the big three, but it's not the big one, and I wondered if it was one of those that's doing it, or if you have a thought on that, because like in this is a far worse movie, but in Shazam 2, they use Skittles for something, and in my mind, like, I
Uh-huh.
just roll my eyes. It's so stupid. It's so blatantly product placement. But in this, there's something more whimsical about it. I don't know if it's because it's the 80s. I don't know if it's because it's a better movie, and I don't know if it's because it's Reese's Pieces and not M&M's or Skittles. Because it's also
So what
funny.
I'll say, oh, sorry, I thought you were done. Go
I,
ahead.
I was only gonna say the only reason it's Reese's Pieces is because M&M said no.
Mm. Well, at least species work better for the film anyway, I
I
think,
think
just
so
like color scheme
too.
wise.
I know.
Anyway, um,
Anyway,
the the Reese's Pieces one, I hardly noticed that one. That one feels like it just kind of happened to me.
mm-hmm.
There's multiple beer placements that stand out just because the labels are all facing the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And there are like the Coke one shows up multiple times. Like there's a prominently placed Coke can in multiple scenes. And then there
Course,
are times where Coke is called out specifically.
course.
And once I found, like, I didn't know this was a thing always, but I found out about product placement, I think maybe freshman year of high school. And I went, is that why everyone always holds their cups
Uh
so
huh.
weird in movies? And now I'm, like, I became like a bloodhound. I want to find every piece of
Mm-hmm.
product placement just so that I don't feel like anything's being pulled like a wool over my eyes or anything. I
You're
want to
right.
see it and I want to know
You don't
what's
want to be
happening. I don't
bamboozled.
want the subliminal message. Yeah,
Uh
I
huh.
want to be aware that you're trying to sell me something. And so I kind of have trained myself to just sort of like, there was a game I used to play with my sisters. How much product placement can you find in the
Ah,
film?
that's good.
So like every time I see something like that with a label pointed out, I go product placement and just sort of like mentally tally it in my head. So that boils down to saying I might be the wrong person to ask this on the
Fair
other
enough.
side of
Fair
it.
enough. See, I guess if
I
I.
do think I do think the fact that it's the 80s like mutes it a little bit for us
Mm-hmm.
because it's not the bright colors that we're used to, like the saturated images of ads
Mm-hmm.
we're used to. But I think for the people watching the film, the contemporary audience, I think it like if they were looking for it, it would have felt awkward,
That's
I
fair.
think.
See, it's also there's the whole thing. It is a kid, and so it's not going to be weird for the kid to have candy. You know, like I don't
Hmm.
I don't usually get weird about like Hellboy only eats Baby Ruth candy bars. I think part of it is because it's not like the big main one for some reason.
Hmm.
It's also just to talk real quick on the soda thing. I didn't clock that in this just because it's so normal in my mind to see Coke and Pepsi. Like unless you have a scene like
Hmm.
in World War Z where the character takes a second to sit down to drink the soda, like that feels
Yeah.
like product placement. But for like a kiddo with a new friend asking him if he wants a Coke, I didn't even clock that. That just felt like a normal day to me. So,
Yeah, no, when a brand name is used specifically, it is product placement.
well,
Like it
I
might
understand
be
it
a natural
is.
bit,
Yeah, yeah.
but okay,
I
okay,
think
yeah.
I
Hmm.
think there are definitely versions where it's a little more believable, and I mean it helps when you
And
have ones that,
natural.
that are as big as Coke, like for sure. But like
Hmm.
if you were to
Hmm.
play me a movie and a character went to get a soda and they're like, I'll take a Coke, that wouldn't even register. If they say Pepsi, like something would tingle. If they say Dr. Pepper, even though I love Dr. Pepper and that's I think one of the big three, I'd be like, that's straight up product placement. Oh, you cheeky bastards! Like
Hmm.
I understand it's all the same, I get it, but for some reason, movies that do it well, they're way more, I guess, explicit about it these days. But I always wondered because like I have associated Reese's
Yeah.
Pieces with ET forever, so like one has been successful, but I don't know if it was the way they wanted it to be. Like,
Hmm.
so yeah, I just wanted to touch on that for a second. But now, yes, I think we need to talk
Hmm.
about the scientists because
Let's do
I
that.
was picking up on more things this time around. I'm intrigued as
Yeah,
to
what
your
were you
thoughts.
noticing?
Well, so when before today, I would have thought, the scientists bits. It's like every other alien thing, It's Shield,
Hmm.
but worse. Coming in, invading people's spaces. I love and hate how she screams, "This is my house," as all these fucking
Hmm.
astronauts are breaking. Like it's traumatizing, it's annoying, and it's such a movie cliche. It's a necessary cliche, but it's a cliche. But this time around,
Hmm.
I was trying to pay attention to the fact that they didn't wheel them away to somewhere else. They didn't take them to a new location. they are giving medical care to ET. They
Hmm.
acknowledge and monitor the empathetic connection between the two. And at one point, one of the nurses refers to him as ET because Elliot's calling him ET, and I clocked that and I
Hmm.
liked that. And then Keyes, of course, he's the poor man's cancer man from X Files at first. They set
Yeah.
him up like the antagonist. He's after it, but like in the end, he's like just the end of the line of the journey that is the kid that is Elliot without the alien. Like he's not after him to dissect him. He doesn't want to kill the alien. Like he's just as intrigued about it, but he is the adult. It's almost like growing up is the villain of this movie
Mm.
in a way. So I don't love his character, but I found there was no reason to hate his character in the same way because
Hmm.
I was trying to keep in mind because I know there's other movies where you flip the perspective and you're easily on the other person's side. Like a movie like Arrival. You don't want a regular household family to come and mess with the aliens. You want the people who know what's going on to come and mess with the aliens. So I was trying to think of his perspective as well and consider that because like it's still invasive. There's still the light
Hmm.
antagonists and
Oh,
there's
for
still
sure.
but I was noticing more that like this could be way worse. And there are movies in which
Oh,
it is
absolutely.
way worse.
I think I did catch it a little bit the second time I watched it that this is not an aggressive government agency, at least not like as aggressive as it could be in
Mm-hmm.
terms of what's happening in this situation. And like on a certain level, from kind of like an adult perspective, is this not what you would want the government to
I
do
know,
should this
right? Like
situation happen?
I hate that I'm that
Like
old
there,
now and I have to consider the government's perspective. But like I was like, I
but
mean,
like if there was an alien wandering around a residential area and had
yeah, I mean,
attached itself to a kid and the
yeah,
government hadn't done anything about it, I'd be kind of mad,
yeah,
Like,
like I can't help it.
so I agree that they are absolutely framed as the antagonists in the sense that they are the one that is in the way of the protagonist getting what they want.
Mm-hmm.
But when you boil down the sort of morality or ethics of their actions, there's not a lot that they do wrong. They're invasive,
Yeah.
they're aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
they take up space that feels like it isn't theirs. But they are here to do a job and
Mm-hmm.
they are executing that job the best way that they can see, like the best way they can see.
Mm-hmm.
If Elliot and ET weren't sick when they finally arrived, like they might have had a completely different
That's
experience
true.
than what
Yeah.
they actually do.
Mm-hmm.
And when they find out that they're sick, their first thought is, we need to fix it. Like they
Mm-hmm.
have medical people trying to help both the alien and the human,
Mm-hmm.
if maybe just for the human's benefit, but like there's genuine sadness when they
Yeah.
lose the patient. Like,
Yeah. And they give
and
him the moments
and
in the end.
yes, which comes with the uncovering of the faces. From the moment that these guys are
Oh
introduced, they are
yes. Yes.
faceless
Good point.
characters.
Good
Like,
point.
and even Keyes gets a face when he comes in the door, but that's because he is the face of this government agency. But we're
Mm-hmm.
talking like, again, we're talking the separation from the way that you feel or maybe the way you feel about others that comes with science, right? And these are a bunch of scientists who just walked into the space because they are dealing with a science problem
Mm-hmm.
and they have themselves covered head to toe to deal with the science, right? But there's an inhuman aspect of that. These astronauts, even though they're clearly human to an adult's eyes, they have no face and they look
Mm-hmm.
like space invaders. They look like aliens walking into the room.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the doctors are completely covered in head nets and face masks and gloves, and when there's no more that science can do, science has failed them, they remove these signs of, that they're active in this world, and all they have left is how they feel about what happened. And they let all of these extras get moments to just look and feel sad for the loss of this character. And they're not doing that necessarily because they want the audience to feel that way. I think we would, regardless of what these guys are doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because they want us to see that these characters are also feeling sad about what has just happened. There is a moment of connection and unity of feeling in the room
Mm-hmm.
because there's been loss of life. It's about the community aspect of this, right? And I I'm like 90% sure because Elliot gets a moment alone with ET and says, I love you, ET comes back to life. I think he was dead, dead.
So I was gonna
I
ask you
think
about
he
that.
like I used to imagine and pretend that he had some sort of secret alien move where he could like look dead to human sensors and that's all it is. I think thematically it works better if ET is clinically dead
Mm-hmm.
because he's been so separated from his community and from a sense of care, and then everyone's sort of collective feelings of loss when he dies, and then Elliot saying, I love you and I am emotionally connected to you,
Mm-hmm.
is enough of a kickstart to his system to bring him back. Like, I don't know how that works physically, but
Uh-huh.
thematically, that fits.
I was gonna ask you about that because I've always had my theory as well, and so I wanted to know what yours was. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that because I mean ET doesn't know
Mm.
what the word love is, and like he knows.
But
Like,
he's an
well,
empath.
that's what I was
Okay.
gonna say. Like before ET dies,
Yeah.
because I also think he dies. He's dead, dead. Before he dies, he feels
Mm-hmm.
it. He knows that Elliot loves him.
Mm-hmm.
And then the connection is severed. The way I always interpreted it,
He closes that down for sure.
yeah, I had
He voluntarily
assumed
separates himself.
I had just assumed there was like this weird distance thing. Like the farther his people get from him, the more he
Mm,
deteriorates.
mm,
And they reached
mhm.
a critical distance, got the signal just in time, and then they're on their way back.
Interesting.
That's just the way I interpreted it because he dies slowly as
Mhm,
his and Elliot's connection grows. If it was due to the
mhm,
connection, I don't think he would have died. So I think
mhm.
they are this weird empath Borg in a good way, where
Yeah.
the way I interpret it, I did not research this. It's just the way I've always thought. Is the farther away that ship gets from him, the sicker he gets, and as soon as they get close enough, because he wakes up and it's like an hour later that they're
Immediately
there.
knows.
So like
Mhm,
he immediately knows, and it's an hour later that they're there. They've been traveling for days, so they've probably been traveling for a day, maybe on the way back. So that's just the way I thought of it. That
mhm.
it's the distance that brings him back. That he's connected to them, they're alive and healthy. It helps him come back and be alive and
That makes
healthy.
sense too,
Yeah,
and works thematically, just in sense of like community and needing your people and
yeah.
needing
Because
relationships
because
with,
I it's also his heart starts glowing, and Elliot asks,
Mm,
does that mean they're coming?" And he says yes. So I think there's just
mhm,
some good timing. It's a really sweet emotional moment where Elliot lets
mhm,
go before he wakes up. So like we
mhm,
still had to experience that. We still add that to the brain belt, if you will, of like I've experienced this. It's now something I know how to deal with, all that good stuff. Then we get to go on our fun climactic third act journey, something or other. So
mhm.
there's nothing necessarily in the movie that conveys that other than the fact that the farther away they get, supposedly, the worse he gets.
True.
The closer they get,
True.
the better
And
he gets.
like obviously Elliot and ET's connection develops like grows over the course of the film. So if all he needed was one other person to
Right.
appreciate and love and like feel with him, it that should have worked.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe, well, we don't know enough to really speculate or say for sure. We don't know enough to say for sure. I will speculate. Um, it's possible that it needs to be reciprocated in a way that Elliot couldn't. Like
Uh,
maybe there was some sort of again I'm gonna use the word
oh,
nutrition. I don't know why
well,
that's
no,
the word, but
you,
they're like
you know what it
mm,
probably is?
yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Because,
What?
like, we don't see E.T. respond to Elliot's emotions. If anything, again,
Right.
in a modern movie, you would get this, and the emotions of an alien would kill the kid, not the other way around.
Hmm.
So I think you got something there. I never thought about that either, and I never really connected the dots either. That we only see Elliot respond to ET. Elliot gets
And a
sick
certain
because ET gets
extent,
sick, not the other way
they,
around, kind of thing.
yeah,
Like it's very interesting.
like he seems to be mostly a receiver, and it's not like they aren't synced, but there's like Elliot doesn't have whatever ability that ET does.
Hmm.
He can't respond in kind, and it's possible that ET species requires that kind of
Mm,
response in order to keep things
mm-hmm.
going for whatever reason.
Right. See, I had also wondered this time around. I knew it wasn't this, but I did wonder if he just was poisoned by the alcohol, deteriorates over a certain amount of time, washes it out of the system, and then finally wakes up. I like the idea of the distance and the emotion way more, but I did wonder this
Mm-hmm.
time, or considering that he drank a lot of beer. Like, what if that's
Mm-hmm.
just an alien hangover? It just happens to kill him. Um, uh, we're
Yeah, hangovers and ice species are rough, man. We
yeah,
just die.
we are very close to our time. You have anything else you like want to throw out there, or anything you want to get into?
Yeah, by the time we get to the kind of like farewell bit, or even just like, ET and Elliot, you're alive, hooray! And then like, he runs to his brother and he's alive, and the kid gets so excited he jumps up and hits his head on the ceiling.
Yeah,
Like,
that's really good.
you know, it, there's I just kind of my big kind of mental takeaway was like, this is a story written about a lonely kid, and from a lonely kid's perspective. Like whoever wrote this story knows what it is like to
Mm-hmm.
be a kid looking for connection, and has
Mm-hmm.
written a story that is one part wish fulfillment. It's one part, this is a kind of like Lilo and Stitch situation. Someone from the sky has been sent to be my best friend,
Mm-hmm.
and they have some sort of special ability that makes them great at being a best friend. But there's also a respect and a celebration of the real options for this, because ET shows up. Elliot has a stronger connection with Mike and Gertie than he did before. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
his mom too, depending on how we want to frame things. Arguably, even the government science folks seem to have a deeper appreciation for just maybe their world or the mysteries of the universe. There
Mm-hmm.
is a love of the universe and the world in this movie that gets just really highlighted. That all the maps and science graphs and like the nature shots, there's just so much of this film that loves the big wide world and all the mysteries of it,
Mm-hmm.
and all
Mm-hmm.
the natural connections we have, like with even the people that kind of annoy us sometimes end up being allies in the end. It's there's one part fantasy, one part 100% real lessons about what we can do when we're feeling lonely. And I think that's really cool for a film like this to pull off. Because again, it does kind of look boring on the surface. It looks a little cliche on the surface, but
Mm-hmm.
it's written so well. There's so
Yes.
much substance.
Totally agree. My two things, I guess, real quick. Love the music, obviously. John Williams, always killing it.
Hmm.
And then it's a blink and you'll miss it when ET first heals Elliot's finger with his little glow finger, and he holds his hand up. His pupils shrink, and then as the hand goes down, they grow again. It's a big, like, everyone points
PK.
that out. Yeah, everyone points that out with the T-Rex in Spielberg's Jurassic Park later on. And again, that's credit to the effects, but I also imagine it could be Spielberg's involvement. Not a clue, but it's cool to see that
Mhm.
that was something he did before the Rex. That little
That's
ET is
true.
doing that. It's just a nice little detail.
Okay, fun little throwaway line. I might to squeeze this in later. It's not really ending material, but there is a line where Greg says something along the lines of, "Why can't he just get beamed up to his
This is
spaceship?"
reality,
And then the
Greg.
response, this is like, why aren't we using that as a response to Scotty beaming me up in casual conversation? This is
Yeah,
reality, Greg.
that's just, that's a classic joke of like, well, we're in a movie with aliens. Why don't we do this alien thing? He's like, this is real life, you
Mhm.
dumbass, you fucking nitwit,
As he's standing
you
next to the
dork.
alien puppet in
Yeah.
broad daylight. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
found it really interesting that Elliot's insult to Greg is zero charisma. That is
Mm.
so lame an insult. Nowadays we've got no Riz, but like it's just funny that that's been a
It's the
consistent.
same
I
thing.
know, I
No Riz is
know,
the exact same
I
thing as zero
know. But
charisma.
it makes me wonder, like, what will it be in another 40 years? How many more
Yeah,
letters will we lose? Because zero charisma has
yeah.
gone to no Riz.
Mm, mhm, mhm.
But yeah, we're at our time. Obviously, a whale. You know, this it's
Obviously a
a
whale.
classic,
Mhm.
a wonderful watch. You could
Big glowy heart whale.
hell, you could put it. You could put it on casually, have it in the background. You could get into it.
Mhm.
You know, like it's a good one.
Mhm.
It's a feel good. It's a feel sad. All the good stuff.
Mhm.
Starting off the '80s
Mhm.
strong.
Yeah, there's gonna be a tone shift in our next one. I apologize.
That's all right. Tone shift is fine. But I think off the top of my head, most of the ones we've got for this marathon, they're pretty solid. Now I haven't seen all of them, but
Yeah.
we didn't
No,
we
if
didn't.
I'm right, and our next one is 1980, not 1984, Red Dawn, which came
Mhm.
out in 1984 or 82. There's a it gets serious. It
Yeah,
gets
and that's all right.
relatively
We've
serious.
we've also got
Hmm.
Breakfast Club in this marathon, and there's some seriousness and some levity in that one too. The tone will be
Hmm.
it'll fluctuate here and there, but yeah, E.T. Tis a whale, great big
E.T.
awesome
is
whale.
absolutely a whale,
Yep.
classic whale.
And now we're done. We're almost 2 years in. I still don't have like an outro thing because we don't have like we don't have anything to plug. Like we don't have socials. No one
No,
listens.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
yep. And
Subscribe if you wanna, but like
you don't have to.
also,
You're not
why would
gonna.
you?
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. Bye.